the shift of liquidity to the public cloud, away from custom physical infrastructure for co-location, telecommunications and hardware. The move from sort of bespoke infrastructure to highly commodified infrastructure, globe-spanning backhaul networks from a major cloud provider, deploying trading infrastructure within their data centers, rather than having to sign individual contracts, changes the entire physical substrate of, in my view, the electronic trading ecosystem. I think it's as significant a shift as electronification can happen to trading in the first place. The ability to have a common co-location substrate, hardware substrate, and simply differentiate via the software layer on top greatly reduces the cost of innovation, greatly reduces the barriers to competition, and will hopefully result in benefits accruing to market participants in terms of cheaper execution, not through margin compression, but simply through cost reduction.
How was Adaptive founded, and how has it evolved over time?
There were 4 co-founders at the time. We really enjoyed working with each other when we were working on this project for Societe Generale, and we felt that the best way to have interesting work and to be able to continue to work with each other was to start a consultancy together. So the founding vision really was that the 4 of us just really wanted to work with each other because we greatly enjoyed the experience previously. And fortunately or unfortunately, what happened is that the company started growing and scaling. We were doubling in size each year. Now, starting from 4 or 5, that's one thing. But when you're at 50 or 60 and then doubling again, it starts to become a different experience. Myself and the other co-founders, we found ourselves working less with each other and more taking individual responsibilities, looking after different projects, looking after different countries where we had opened offices, and it became a very different experience. We have gone on this growth together into a direction that we'd never foresaw all those years ago, and have still remained excellent collaborators and excellent colleagues all the way through.
What is your approach to building bespoke trading systems?
We would go into typically large tier 1 financial services institutions and help them build different bits of electronic trading infrastructure. We do that with the full fat software development lifecycle, a healthy combination of business domain expertise and technical know-how, and we'd build point solutions sitting on top of their existing infrastructure. People will only value software that is built for them if they actually value differentiation via technology. There are many ways to run a business, many successful patterns of a business model, and only some of them really require differentiating technology. Fortunately, within the capital markets across different asset classes, there is a lot of demand for that. And so as we've evolved the business strategy, we have continually kept that as our North Star, that who we are for is people that want to differentiate via technology. As we've gone from pure consultancy to tech-enabled services to open source and tech-enabled services, and now pivoting to tech-first and product-led offering for the market to enable our clients to directly create that differentiation themselves, that's still been the focus. We've just spent our time improving our ability to deliver that value for our clients, rather than pivoting the offering or going into a different vertical, shall we say.
How do you differentiate yourself?
For the consultancy work that we do, so when we go in and help a firm figure out a business strategy or a technology strategy or a product strategy for their own business, we make sure that the designs, the plans that we work with them on can be delivered. Like, we don't believe in delivering an inert PowerPoint presentation or a Google slide that they then have to shop around to find someone to build. Everything we design is intended to be turned into software and go into production. The other way we differentiate is by having a very, very narrow focus. That means that we will always be a bit of a boutique, but our focus on liquidity discovery, liquidity distribution, trade execution, across asset class, across market model, and across market segment lets us take knowledge and experience that we gain in one asset class and deploy it into another asset class for the benefit of our clients. And that itself lets us stand out. And I'll give you an example. We built for a German energy utility maybe 6-8 years ago an energy trading platform. If you were looking at it through the lens of an FX practitioner, you would say that we built them a FX single dealer platform. But to them, that idea of streaming electronic prices, different product types, the ability for their products to have tenors, all the back-end infrastructure you need to support that sort of electronic servicing of your clients, that was a completely foreign world. But our deep speciality in execution and liquidity discovery, liquidity distribution, meant that we were able to be, with some education as to the energy market and how they wanted to run their business, we were able to bring that expertise to bear and deliver them something that really to this day hasn't been rivaled by any of their competitors in their market through a deep understanding of trading and drawing the parallels between the different asset classes.
Why did you acquire Realogic and their product, Aeron?
When we first started moving away from being a pure play software consultancy, we started to codify the development approaches, architectural preferences, development modes into a development platform and an operations platform. That platform was called Hydra. We found in Aeron at the time a very low latency, very resilient messaging and clustering infrastructure. And the development platform we built on top was all about making our consultancy and our consultants highly productive. Get a complex front office workflow stood up and deployed into a test or development environment within a sprint when we started with a client. Through the happenstance of conversation, this was during COVID, Martin was looking for a change. We were looking for a change. And it was, we spent some time talking to each other. We had a very shared vision of what the combined technology stack could mean for the industry. And so we acquired Realogic, and all the individuals with Realogic came in and worked for us and still work for us in different roles. And we've merged the product teams. So the Aeron team and the Hydra team are now one group. And we've continued to evolve the Aeron roadmap, building out new proprietary product, as well as continuing to invest in the open source offering. So it was a shared vision, but based on a very long 4 or 5 years of working together, having weekly product calls between the product teams. Like we were both very known entities to each other.
How did the acquisition change your capabilities for clients?
The acquisition of Realogic meant that we were able to start to move the business from away from being tech-enabled services to tech or product-led to a tech or product-led offering. Our first use of Hydra was to enable our consultancy business to deliver complex trading systems with less risk, less time, less cost. But we were never really able to position Hydra directly to the market, directly to a client for us as a solution to their development needs, because the underlying open source software was a separate organization with its own roadmap, its own direction, its own wants and needs. But by bringing Aeron into the adaptive umbrella, we in effect created a single stack, which meant that we could say to firms, we will support the open source layer underneath it. The developers work for us. We will also license you the development platform that sits on top of it that makes your developers more productive. And that is an offering you can rely on, that we will provide SLAs around and warranties. Whereas prior to the merger, that wasn't something that we were able to do. You can think of Aeron, and we do as like a scalpel, like a very precise set of infrastructure that lets you do very precise things very well. That ethos we see has really resonated with the industry, right? It's broadly used across the sell side, very broadly used across the venue and exchange space, very broadly used across the buy side and hedge fund space where people are doing programmatic and systematic trading.
What have you done since the acquisition to improve the open source component?
We've built a website. Before the acquisition, Aeron had a GitHub repo, nothing more than that. We're trying to collate talks and reference material knowledge in one place for the community. We've started hosting community events. So we had one in New York a few weeks ago. We have one in London next week. We have done a similar schedule over the last 2 or 3 years, I think now. Those events are very well attended. There's usually over 100 people that come from different firms around the industry to hear Aeron developers talk about the future of Aeron, and also to hear some Aeron users talk about their use cases and what they're doing with Aeron in production. We want firms to feel confident in building on Aeron, and one of the ways that we can help them with that confidence or help them build that confidence is by showing them there's a vibrant community of Aeron developers. They can hire people to build their systems and to show them that other firms are building on Aeron. And not only are those firms building on Aeron, they're actually comfortable standing up and talking about what they're doing. We've continued to invest in the open source roadmap, quarterly releases, new features, bug fixes, enhancements, feedback from the community drives that. We've also improved the commercial offering on top of Aeron since the acquisition as well. So there were support agreements you could buy from Realogic. We now have an offering called Aeron Premium, which gives you an SLA, gives you access to a set of proprietary licensed components that make Aeron, the open source low-level infrastructure, faster, more secure, more resilient is how I think about it. That means that people who are looking for that extra edge can come to us, get support, get training, which is very important, but also get additional proprietary components like kernel bypass, for example, that would otherwise consume a lot of their internal development resource and is fairly standardized and makes sense for us to offer as a sort of enterprise premium version on top of the open source community. We're building out higher level pieces of infrastructure. One of those things, an Aeron sequencer that we're in early stage development with at the moment, with a few early clients. This brings the benefits of Aeron Cluster. For those of your listeners that are aware of what Aeron Cluster brings, think of Aeron Sequencer as building on top of Aeron Cluster and giving you those same levels of resilience and performance, but enabling you to build in a distributed way rather than having to co-locate all your code within the cluster itself. We see a very broad set of industry problems that we can solve through the Aeron ecosystem, and we are investing as much as we can and going as quickly as we can to meet those needs.
Plans for the future.
We're in conversation with a number of firms, major capital markets institutions, about significantly deepening their use of Aeron across their organization. We need to build out new capabilities. We need to extend the platform, extend Aeron open source, extend our development platform Hydra. And what we want to be in a position to do is give those firms the confidence to make for their electronic trading businesses pretty existential bets on us and Aeron as the underpinning of their technology differentiated trading businesses going forward. What we don't want to do is just become a point solution. We're not going to pivot and build another fixed income trading platform and offer it to the market. We see there is a real demand for technology as a platform and a technology platform that lets people differentiate in their own businesses by building on top of the Aeron ecosystem, and that's where we're going. And you see one element of that already with our Open Exchange Accelerator, building on top of Aeron Cluster, building on top of our development platform Hydra. Clients can buy from us the source code of an award-winning matching engine that they then control, and they can take, think of it like a hard fork, and there are firms in the market using that today to build highly differentiated exchange businesses, and doing so with far less risk and far shorter time to market than starting from scratch.